Alright, what's going on, guys? So Elden Ring Nightreign has been out for a few days now, and I hope you guys are enjoying it as much as I am. I have been thoroughly addicted to this game. But while it's so easy to get lost in the fun, with each 45-minute run going by in the blink of an eye, Elden Ring Nightreign is a surprisingly deep game, with lots of hidden mechanics and secrets that the game doesn't tell you, ranging from little tiny helpful tips that can give you the edge on each of your runs, to fundamental secrets that go beyond the game and can completely change the way you look at it. So today I want to go through 8 really cool secrets in Elden Ring Nightreign that you probably did not know. And you know how these videos go. If I show you something today that you didn't already know, be sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on all things Elden Ring Nightreign. But with all that, let's go ahead and dive into the first one. And what better place to begin than with the game's tutorial? As soon as you boot up Elden Ring Nightreign, you will be spawned into a tutorial where you're playing as Wilder. And this tutorial is decently comprehensive, going over the basic things you need to know of how to play the game, but not really diving too deep on the factors that matter. If you played the base game of Elden Ring in pretty much any capacity, then you're going to know most of the things going on here. The basics of combat, what items do, how to use your abilities, they're all very easy to pick up. And so chances are you make it to the end of the tutorial without much hiccup. But this is where things stop being easy, because the tutorial has you facing off against Margit the Fell Omen, who is by no means a pushover boss. And even though you have Duchess fighting alongside you, this is still an incredibly hard fight at level 6. And even though you have 2 lives, you're still intended to die here. And when you do, you'll wake up in the Round Table Hold and begin the game. But that's not where the tutorial has to end. What you may not have known is that in the Round Table Hold, you can go back to the visual codex. And here, if you go down to guide, you can press X to replay the tutorial. Now you might be thinking, well, why would I want to do that? Because there's a secret item that you get if you win. Now everything about this tutorial replay is exactly the same as it was the first time. The items out of the chest, the loot drops, everything is the same, including the fight with Margit. So that means you can optimize this. And I recommend using the great axe you get out of the chest because that's going to stun him a lot. And use the ultimate pretty early because the tutorial is going to give you a full recharge when he gets to about half health. And if everything goes correctly, you'll be able to kill him. And here's what happens if you do. You will get the Great Enemy Felled tag that pops up, and then there will be a glowing chair at the back of the room. Sit in this chair to complete the tutorial. And then when you spawn back at the Round Table Hold, you will receive the Fell Omen Fetish. This is surprisingly a really good relic that boosts attack power when switching weapons, improves throwing knife damage, and gives you a +1 in vigor. So I definitely recommend doing this if you have not already to get that secret relic. So now let's go over some pretty quick ones that the game does not tell you and you really need to know about. First of all, one big difference in Nightreign from the base game of Elden Ring is how blocking works. Now in Nightreign, every single weapon in the game, from the tiniest dagger to the biggest ultra greatsword, has 100% physical block. That means no matter what the attack, if it does not do additional elemental damage, holding LB will block that attack and you will not take damage. And this is really important to put into practice because if there is a specific attack that you absolutely suck at dodging, you may just want to hold block instead and not take that risk of mistiming your dodge. And that also applies to Executor's Cursed Sword. You will not take damage when missing a deflect if you still block it. You may get your stance broken, but you won't die. And while we're on the topic of Executor, did you know that changing the skin also changes the color of the beast? This goes for the Darkness skin and both of the Dark Soul skins. It's a pretty cool little detail. Another thing to mention about him is what does his name actually mean? There's been an ongoing argument whether it's Executor or Executor, but what is it really? Well, in English, Executor is not really a word. The word for that would technically be Executioner, but Executor is. So let's look at the Japanese. We can see here that the meaning of the word aligns with the definition of an executor, someone who carries out a will or performs a duty. So the definition here does not apply to an executioner. Now, can you still say Executor? You could, but Executor is the true name.
Executor.
Executor.
Now, I'm not gonna lie, this next one made me pretty mad when I figured it out because I hadn't known it up until I had already unlocked the final boss of the game. One of the problems you may run into as you're playing through the game, running around Limveld, is how to know when you have enough runes to level up. I found myself consistently going to the Grace, thinking I had enough, only to find that I was just a few runes off. Well, it turns out the game actually has a UI indicator whenever you have enough runes to level up, but it doesn't tell you that, and you'll never know it unless you're looking for it because it's so small. Take a look up there in the top left corner. Do you see it? Because I definitely didn't for the majority of my playtime. Well, turns out when you have enough runes to level up there next to your level, there's going to be a little flashing arrow. But the thing is, it's so small, and it's the same color as the runes around it, that you'll likely never see it unless somebody points it out to you. So definitely don't forget to keep an eye out for it, so that you know when to go find a grace or not. But let's shift gears for a second away from cool gameplay secrets and discuss something on the story side. Now, it's readily apparent to every player that Nightreign toys with the idea of a conjoined universe, with lots of crossover from the Dark Souls trilogy, and that crossover seems to be exclusively from that trilogy. However, there may be other elements that tie into other lesser known Fromsoftware games, and the first hint of that can be found in the character Duchess. Duchess's appearance is that of a young woman with a sort of gothic Victorian attire. Now, when she was first revealed, many thought that she bore connections to Bloodborne. But if we actually take a deeper look at this character, we can find things much more compelling, that she may be a reference to FromSoftware's game Deracine. Now, Deracine was a very strange FromSoftware game made for PlayStation VR, and because of that, not very many people have played it. You play as this invisible fairy who solves mysteries around this boarding school, and the game bears this very mysterious, melancholy tone that's pretty much trademark of anything FromSoftware. But when we look at similarities between Duchess and the character in Deracine, Yulia, things get pretty interesting. Firstly, on their appearance. Immediately we can notice similarities in their hairstyles, where it's much longer on the right, and that very light, almost white blonde. Very superficial stuff right there. But hang on. The plot of Deracine involves the fairy using a magical pocket watch to travel through time. And what is Duchess's ability? Which uses a magical pocket watch to replay the last few seconds. And we only unlock her character after giving her that old pocket watch. But her ultimate art, Finale, cloaks the party, making them invisible. Very reminiscent of the invisible fairy in Deracine. But what really sells this reference for me is that if we look at the concept art of Duchess's pocket watch, on the right there we can see a flower that is almost identical to the one that Yulia is holding on the cover. So am I saying that Duchess is a character from Deracine? No, but I think it is very apparent that she's at least meant to be a reference in concept, and I think that's pretty cool. But while we're on the topic of references, you know that there are bosses from the Dark Souls trilogy, you know that there are skins from the Dark Souls trilogy that you can get, but did you know that there is an item, a piece of equipment that has also crossed the boundary of the universe? Well, if not, let me show you. If you were unlucky in your journey, there's a chance that Libra, Creature of the Night, can become a problem on your run, and not just as a Night Lord. If you are unlucky enough, you may receive the prompt in your run that says a demon cast its curse, and then you'll notice that about a quarter of your health bar is now grayed out. In order to lift this curse, you will then need to find the scale-bearing merchant somewhere on your map. You can then talk to him and he'll ask for a certain amount of runes in order to break the curse. Now, if you have the right amount of runes and can pay to lift the curse, you will then be able to make a new deal with the scale-bearing merchant, one of which is that you want to receive more runes, and if you choose that, you will receive the symbol of avarice, which grants improved item discovery, more runes from defeated enemies, but consistently drains your HP. This is a notorious item from the Dark Souls trilogy. In appearance, it is the head of a mimic that would give you more souls, but would also drain your health while wearing it. So it's cool to see this notorious item make a comeback. Unfortunately, you don't get to wear the mimic chest as a head in this one, but I wish you did. Either way, it's really cool. Now, here's a little secret that everybody should know, but not enough people do, and I wasted more time not knowing about this than pretty much anything else. Roundtable Hold has a map. Use it, and if you are in a remembrance, then it will also show a quest marker where the next step of your remembrance is. Do not run around Roundtable Hold aimlessly looking for the NPCs, since they move locations all the time. You would be shocked how easy it is to not realize this. You can also use the map menu to teleport around Roundtable Hold to all the different parts if you don't want to spend the time running there. So make use of this helpful tool. This is going to make your remembrances so much easier. Now, the final thing we gotta talk about today is probably the biggest thing the game doesn't tell you, and that's how matchmaking works. Probably the biggest obstacle to play in Elden Ring Nightreign. If you do not have two other friends to play with, I know you guys have been standing around for the longest time trying to get two other people to play with, or if you're in a group of two, that final third person. Well, here are some things that are going to affect your matchmaking. First of all, if you have a remembrance quest active, you will not be able to queue in with somebody else that also has one. That is going to substantially limit your matchmaking pool. pool. Also, shifting earth events. If you have not unlocked a certain shifting earth event, you cannot queue in with a host that has that event active. For example, if somebody is hosting a match with the Scarlet Rot Forest active and you have not unlocked that, you will not be in the pool for that match queue. And of course, in order to fight the other Night Lords, you need to first beat Gladius. If you have not beaten Gladius, you will not be able to queue in for other Night Lords that are not on your list. So if you're having trouble matchmaking, make sure these are not affecting you so that you have the highest chance to get in with other players. Anyways though guys, those are 8 secrets about Elden Ring Nightreign that the game does not tell you and you really need to know. But I hope I showed you something that you didn't already know, and if I did, be sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe if you're new around here. Also, let me know down in the comments anything that we did not cover, any other secrets that you know about that you would like to be featured in a video. But with all that, I hope you enjoyed the video and I will catch you in the next one.